So remember, in the different stations, the scriptwriter was in charge of learning how to get in and out of the tape. That means how you're introducing different elements of your recordings. So in that training, there were different examples of how to potentially do an intro. It doesn't have to be a basic introduction that identifies who's speaking and what the podcast is about. There were lots of examples there. So that's something you want to think about when you go to creating the intro. So back to this recording. So here, or back to the tracks. So here you're going to add the different tracks according to what is going to be in the podcast. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then jump to how you're going to import the files you've created. Okay, so I've created my basic tracks. Now notice I just have generic titles like interview, vox pop, ambi, and so on. You can make these more specific. Let's say you have 3 or 4 interviews. Add a separate track for each interview, or you can put them all on one. But I would recommend creating a separate track for your different types of audio. Then now how do you insert them into this track? Well, we'll hit these 3 little dots, and then where you see import, only on a Chromebook do you have this advantage. So you want to do this initially on a Chromebook, and then you can move to a different computer, even your computer at home, once you have the files imported. So here you can click Google Drive, My Drive, and then if that folder was shared with me, which it probably was, you click on Shared with Me, and then you look for that folder named Podcast Audio. This is my example folder, but remember, the folder that should have all the audio from your team is titled Podcast Audio. So when you open that folder, then you're going to look for that audio file to import in that particular track. Okay, so I'm just going to use an example here. And I am going to, instead of in the intro, I don't have an example here, but I'm going to cancel this. I'm going to go to Ambi here. Or I'm sorry, I'm going to go to Vox Pop and go to, okay. All right, so you have these different tracks, and what you're going to do to import from your Google Drive, only on a Chromebook, is click the 3 dots, then go down to import. Look in your Google Drive, and chances are it's in the, okay, look in Google Drive and then go to Shared with Me to find that folder that your team member shared with you. If you created it, then it would just be in your Google Drive. So this is my example folder for this demonstration, Podcast Audio. Once you open it, then you're going to look for the file that you want to insert into that track. So I'm just going to use this as my example here. And it has loaded it. Notice it loaded it where the playhead is. So if I want to move it, it's not a problem to move this anywhere. If I want to move it, I just wait and, ah, dang it. You see it has these little tracks. Once it's in there, then you can move it wherever you start the playhead at. Okay? You're going to continue to do that for all of your audio files. The beauty of doing this in a Chromebook is it's connected to your Google Drive already. Otherwise, you'd have to download the files to the computer and then import them into Soundtrap. Okay, on to the next step.